Yeah, it was a pick that we actually saw in the Challengers Korea playoffs. So mid lane Nautilus has been played. Sora's played 2 games in the top lane. So there has been some Nautilus aficionados in Challengers Korea buffed on patch 9.6. We're returning on to, guys, we're not on patch 9.7 like the EU Masters, sticking with patch 9.
Can see whether they are going to be able to do it. KT's hopes on the line here. No one getting relegated today. Remember, guys, of course, it is double elimination. So this will just decide who goes down to that lower bracket and who has to stare down a potential fate of not making it into the LCK the next time they hop onto the Rift. Nautilus on the top side of the map, though, already some changes here in game number 1.
Let's load into it. See how the fan bases are. It's all about this one, Atlas. Let's get this promotion tournament off the ground.
Wow, that is a bigger cheer for VSG than I was expecting, Papa.
We had a lot of embarrassing moments back at
we did.
and Spo TV when we were doing promotion matches, because usually there is no live crowd or a very small live crowd at the Free Cup studio. That's where Challenge Korea and the Kesper Cup were played last year. So sometimes we get the huge cheer from, say, MVP or Kongdu Monster or whichever team was in promotions, and then no cheer on the other side. VSG, that's probably the loudest first up cheer I've heard from a team making their promotions debut. So shout out to the VSG fans. A 10-man roster, which, especially when we hit best of 5s, could potentially be changed again and again. At the start of the season, they were very much GC Busan and then the secondary squad that was put together to represent VSG. But over the course of the season, VSG looked like, after a couple of games, the favorites for Challengers Korea, and then one lineup would go down 0-2, and the next time you see the other lineup, and they would also lose 0-2, and you're like, how is this happening? They started going for the revolving door, and they only settled on this lineup we see today because they're the lineup that reverse swept APK Prince, the lineup with Ixu in the top lane, Cow in the jungle, Mickey in the mid lane. They're only going with these 5 because they went 3-0 to reverse sweep that series. They could change as soon as next game, Atlas. Feels like VSG haven't had too much rhyme and rhythm with their configuration of players, and I think that's why they've never got much momentum, yet they still find themselves 2 wins away from LCK Summer.
Yeah, and I think it's actually even a little bit more than that, because we know that it is a revolving door for VSG, but that was mostly in the regular season. In fact, a lot of the other players on this squad only played up to 1 or 2 games in the playoffs, in the 2 best of 5s that both went to 5 games. So we'll see whether VSG are comfortable with just sitting with this roster. We've seen that as soon as a team really truly realizes the exact 5 that they want to be playing, they become a lot more formidable. The Score is going to find Ryan here in the jungle, wants to get the steal and does so. Score down to half health. Already Ryan asserting his dominance here in the early game.
If you're looking for win conditions, Ryan popping off is what got them here, with that reverse sweep being so much about his jungle Olaf. He's on the Jarvan side of the matchup. We see Jarvan Rek'Sai all the time. These are the top 2 junglers we usually see kind of standard. We don't see so much Kindred in the LCK like it is played in other regions against Rek'Sai. Usually this is heavily Rek'Sai favorite early, and then Jarvan can go Cinderhulk and be fine. But getting in there, contesting a scuttle is already some degree of risky. Maybe it's because the Lissandra roams first, or maybe it's just that Ryan only knows how to play aggressively, and his aggression usually finds big interest.
Well, at the moment, BDD is not going to buy any of it. He's just going to shift some sands, get out of the way, and you can see Electrocute on the Azir hasn't gone for either the Lethal Tempo or the Hail of Blades, which have been the most popular here in Korea. On the Azir just shows that there is a lot of flexibility when it comes to what our Azir players like to do.
Electrocute's about health bar advantage in laning phase, because you're going to get those Thunderlords-esque short trades in pretty frequently, and just keep Ruby at a low health bar. Remember that Ruby can almost never proc Aftershock against an Azir unless you're going all in. So during laning trades, when Electrocute happens, you're very likely to take the full damage from that first rotation, stay low, and we already saw Chovy struggle when you have a health bar or any sort of disadvantage in the Lissandra matchup, just bullied by Faker on his Azir. So just focusing on the early laning phase and not allowing Ruby to use the teleport advantage to roam at full health and make the impact that Lissandra felt in the early game.
Well, at the moment, it's not going to be that teleport advantage. He has to use it to get back to this lane, which is exactly how the Lissandra works here in this early game. So maybe KT with a little bit more flexibility, but you can see bottom side of the map, it's not about flexibility for KT. It's about staying the hell alive for as long as you possibly can against all of this harassment coming in from the volleys. That's a great hawk shot, spotting exactly where Score is. Not going to be able to find his way here, bottom side of the map, and Score feeling predictable certainly feels like a big problem for KT.
And Alistair Vlad obviously takes the dog side of the matchup here. Ash Tom Kench, easy win. It's not quite Varus Tom Kench when it comes to abuse lanes with Tom, but it's top 3 for sure. So a lot of lane presence here. Probably another reason that BDD couldn't go lethal tempo is suddenly, if you're going for a selfish scaling rune alongside a scaling mid laner, alongside a scaling bot laner, it's too much scaling out. So looking for a bit more presence mid lane. Already plugged and played, this is going to be a tricky lane. Nautilus, he's got quite a lot of buffs recently to base stats, and he has the shorter shield cooldown that was the last Nautilus buff, and months ago at this point. You're just trying to grin and bear at top lane and then work with ganks, so that's going to be Jay's favorite, but KT know that bot lane is not their place to fight.
Well, right now Smeb is able to shove this wave in. You saw the turret plate falling on the bottom side of the map, and now Saw is certainly taking the rough end of this one, having Aftershock, which is of course mostly for later game team fights and things like that. The fact that you can depth charge in and have so many more resistances doesn't really help you if you're not actually able to get into melee range against the Jace. So Smeb is able to push Saw around a lot. Here in this lane, Glacial Shroud has been picked up as he teleports back in. Smeb holding on to his and holding on to a pretty gigantic lead. When it comes to that farm, Hawkshot flies out. Not going to be able to actually see Score, as that's a decent dredge line landing onto Smeb.
And with the bot side control that is, of course, granted through the Ash Tom Kench duo, Infernal Drake the perfect first spawn for VSG versus
How about
Game.
A second spawn as well, Papa?
That's true. And versus Game, by the way. Not versus gaming like you might imagine. They are, in fact, versus Game. We'll be calling them VSG. They'll be very happy to see high roll Drakes around the area of the map where they wish to be finding their advantages. Topside control should be granted to KT, but that of course can be subverted post level 6 for Ryan and Soar. So already that level 6. A little bit surprising to see the Glacial Shroud. I would not imagine there to be a full Iceborne Gauntlet, kind of a fighter item choice, so we might see how to play the Shy's Scion in the top lane. Yeah. Sunfire Cape a la Poppy is usually what you'll see from a Nautilus with his health scaling on his W shield, and it could still be the first completed item. But once that Sunfire Cape is in, there is a lot more sturdiness around this Nautilus, a lot less ability to just take free turret plates. And normally when you think Jace versus Nautilus or Jace versus a tank, you think Kleptomancy and turret plates. We see the extended Conqueror trades being what Jace has opted into, and we see so far no turret plates granted to Smeb.
Yeah, not quite. Has chunked out that turret just a little bit, so if he gets this minion wave up there, might be a better story, but right now you can see Smeb is actually respecting the potential ganks coming in from Ryan a lot. He wants to keep the minion wave back a little bit further. As I say that, of course, the Shock Blast comes in and clears out a bunch of minions to assure the push. Smeb, with the Hypercharge, we'll be able to get rid of this control ward here on the top side.
Let's talk about the side of VSG, because they're the ones that have a little bit more of the onus on them to play this game aggressively. Eventually, it's Vladimir Azir. Yeah. And even though you don't have a real AD carry, Jace can do an impersonation. And Vladimir and Azir have consistent damage, they have burst damage, they do everything in a team fight. So we're very much looking on VSG to take this game mid to late, if you will. But around 25 minutes, or 2 items is where they spike. How do you play this game perfectly as the team that needs to make the inroads because you don't have the superior scaling? Well, the ideal, the god tier for VSG is second Infernal spawn, not that much after Rift Herald, around 11 minutes, right? As we can see, if they can take the second Infernal, then rotate topside and take the Rift Herald, so defend Rift Herald for a minute, 2 minutes, and take those 2 Infernals, then lane swap their duo around the strength of the fact that they'll win 2v2, and take that topside objective, that's the start of the game they're already thinking about. It's a multi-step process, and KT should be able to find a very early start onto this Rift Herald. But if KT are slow, if they dawdle, and VSG take this Infernal off spawn and get the rotation off, KT will be in a bigger hole than they maybe appreciate.
Yeah, exactly right. And also, if VSG can set it up right, they'll have a teleport advantage for Sora as well. You can see the offset of these teleport cooldowns. It's very slight, but could mean that VSG can brute force the dragon once it spawns, with the opportunity for having that teleport in. From the Nautilus, Veritas continuing to be frustrating here, and Score decides that there's nothing that he can actually do to try and salvage. Another turret plate might be on the cards here, bottom side of the map for VSG, and we know that Veritas loves to control these mid games. See whether the Ashe is going to be a way for him to do that. Mid lane, you can see it's a slight advantage for BDD.
Atlas, I want to be Captain Hindsight for a moment. Wouldn't this KT draft be way better if you chose Sonatarek instead of Vlad Alistair? They're both scaling lanes without a lot of lane presence. And think about the Sona on-hit damage with Azir, Jace, Rek'Sai.
Yeah.
As a synergy, it just feels like Sonatarek is basically the same as Vlad Alistair, but would do it way better.
Yeah.
So, Captain Hindsight over here is a bit sad about that. Now, we talked about taking that second Inferno. They're just actually trying to take Rift Herald off spawn, and KT need to wake up. I know it's early, and I'm talking about that for video gamers. It's 5 p.m. Korean Standard Time. Korean video gamers wake up in the afternoon. I know it's early by their standards, but if they're losing Rift Herald here, KT already, the alarm bells should be way louder. They should wake them up.
Yeah, exactly right. And the Lissandra gets the push in the mid lane. They know that this is happening now, but there's no way for them to rotate over. The vision's too good for VSG. They're playing cleaner League of Legends than KT Rolster are right now. Ryan picks that one up. He's got 40 seconds just to chill, head back home, get a bit of a reset, and then head down towards the second Infernal Drake that's going to be on the map. You can see the gold, absolutely nothing in it. KT have decided that they don't care about this early game at all, and you can understand why. However, I just don't think you roll over and give everything over to this VSG squad, even if you feel like you do have the scaling advantage.
And Atlas, there was just no way to prep for how KT would look today. There's no way to know because you had two disagreeing voices. You know, the kind of the devil and the angel on your shoulders. The angel on your shoulders saying, but look at the names. It's BDD, Score, and Smeb. Like, look at the names on the other side. It's the guy who was a sub on Afrika that never played. I don't know who this Ryan guy is. He's someone who went overseas and's got a Western first name. And then there's Soar, who was on Sonic Boom, and to his credit, looked good on Battle Comics in the promo tournament.
Did.
But it's Smeb, the guy who was, you know, at one point the #1 player on the world's top 20 players in 2016. So the nameplate's on. The Angel's saying, look at those. But the Devil's saying, KT had no form, no identity, no structure during the course of spring. And if it was the team that just played in spring, and this is the 19th best of 3 they play, it's an extension of that team, then you can't expect much. They weren't very good, and we didn't know which one to listen to, and it seems like VSG, who are coming off a big victory and a huge amount of momentum, having won that final match, are parlaying that momentum, and KT, they seem half asleep.
They certainly do. They don't necessarily need to wake up just yet, but right now it is that teleport advantage we were talking about for Saw, and he did manage to get the lane shove. They decided not to act on it. And there's the headbutt. Pole coming in here. We'll see whether Snowflower gets the trample, and he does. Couple of stuns come in, but KT just trying to get something done. Score walks over a ward. VSG will back off.
What has the KT org been like preparing for this tournament? Is it, how dare you find yourselves in relegations, or is it a lot of support for the players? We can't know, but those things are so important because you forget that while they have some established names, BDD is only 20 years old. Zen and Snowflower aren't particularly experienced, and where are their heads at is a question we can't know, and the gameplay is going to have to do the bulk of the talking, and while this game ain't over, KT need to find a way to repel the aggression around the Inferno, because 2 Infernos Rift Herald is a hell of a lot of objectives to give over for free.
Well, you can see Snowflower stops the back. Teleport's now going to come in. That's just going to be Vladimir making his way back to lane. Ruby gets chunked. That could be a huge deal as they've already started off. This Infernal Drake, Snowflower in position, has Unbreakable Will, is going to get the headbutt off, but not going to get the Pulverize in time to stop that Claw from getting Ruby to safety. Will mean that VSG have to pull off the Infernal Drake because their mid laner, no teleport, does have to go home.
Now, KT don't feel strong enough to actually start the Inferno, and that means we might get a free recall from Lissandra. Nautilus is going back top, but has teleport. Ryan could also consider jamming down the Rift Herald in the lane and then forcing KT to defend that before they get into a position. Is that another smite steal? Okay, that does mean he's smited. Ryan's next smite is up in 10 seconds. KT might just try to rush this.
Yep, they're going to try to, and Smeb, he's already teleported down, so they are on the clock. Score looking for it, flash immediately. Crystal Arrow lands onto Smeb. Zenit's already used his pull. It's a great pulverize. Ryan is eliminated. First blood goes to PDD. It's now Score. I don't think Aftershock's going to help you, but the Devour is going to be there. No mana left, and KT a 1 for 0.
They turn onto the enemy jungle. They take him down, but they don't have health bars to actually get the Infernal Atlas, so it's only a kill only first blood. So far, no more. And Ruby even gets the push in mid. So a good turn from KT. They couldn't burn the Infernal fast enough, but no objective to back up the play.
Yeah, let's have a look at this one again. Remember, the teleport is coming in from Sora, and it might have been a little bit overly ambitious.
I think the EQ into multiple members is a huge AoE. It's the most ambitious thing.
Yeah.
Conqueror Jarvan just went straight into the death chamber. The rest are tanky enough, but yes, it's only a kill and then a handshake to disengage. And as you notice, this is still our primary objective.
Yeah, but 5 members of KT are converging on this Dragon Pit. VSG understand this. Rift Herald is going to be summoned towards the top side of the map.
It'll take a while, though.
And Shelly will be by herself. So they're going to try and get through the minion wave. It is going to be an Infernal going over to KT. They even that score line out when it comes to these Dragons, and now should be able to get up top to defend this Rift Herald that mostly was about Shelly expiring rather than strategically trying to use her up.
And now in hindsight, we can say the Rift Herald, despite being taken pre-14, did not grant any local gold. It's 15 minutes. Will Shelly even get a charge? The answer is yes, but what health bar will it be at? We'll find out soon. The early game advantages and inroads were actually equaled in turret play, so now Sora's looking for a turret dive because they understand that some of their early game moves haven't borne fruit in the way VSG would have hoped. So let's see what happens here as Sora does in the end stick around.
Yep, BDD's by himself in the mid lane, and Smeb is doing the same thing. Topside VSG, with their man advantage, will be able to shove down this bottom lane. Outer turret, they'll have a lot of tempo as well, moving towards the inner if they would like to. Decent minion wave is there, but you can see Smeb and BDD both in control of their lanes, and that tempo advantage may not be as big as we may first assume with the fact that that turret did go down.
Item completion still on the way from VSG. Only 100 gold lead as we speak means that KT having, from a good defense of the second Infernal, found a way to stabilize the game. This is a very good sign for KT and where their scaling is coming. But we should remember that around 2 items is where VSG should have the most ability to make KT shudder in their boots. And it's only after that point that KT scaling really kicks in. Nice to see the Nashor's onto Azir. The CDR stacking is coming in from Vladimir. But it's their decisions pre-30 that we will truly judge KT on. So far, so good, but still work to be done.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you can't really fault them because you understand what their mindset is. KT say, well, we don't have to make any proactive moves because we have the late game insurance. It is a bit of a worry when you see VSG taking so much in that first Infernal Drake and Shelly in the early game.
And it's not just 100-0 late game advantage because remember, it is Jace top lane, and Jace is going for a laning build. Smeb is pretty routinely gone Black Cleaver Blade the Ruin King against tanks so that he will have side lane pressure, but it's not a team fight build. And he means that he's not a frontliner. So if you fall behind in vision, the pick comp from VSG is insane. Look at their pick power.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Tom Kench is the only champion who's not S+ tier in pick, and he can also do some work in that particular realm himself. So you lose vision control around a Baron. Best of luck face checking that as KT. You're going to need that Tremor Sense to work in overdrive. Here we go.
Yeah, Headbutt Pulp does come in. Circle of Frost was there as Ruby does have to self-ult. Zenit now gets exhausted, uses the pull. Gets a whole bunch from it as well, being able to clear out the minions. And KT not going to be able to get the dive, but I believe message has been received.
A lot of mixed messages between KT and VSG mean the comps both have different win conditions, which we like to see.
Arrow. The move to the right maneuver. I like it. Who needs cleanse when you can move casually to the right?
Yeah, and he gets to hold on to the cleanse, which means that he will have a lot of uptime in the mid lane, farming up towards 2-item Azir. From there, it's Gucci. Nice little macro move from Score to zone away Ruby. Getting any gold onto Zenit is gold that KT desperately want, and this gold should be enough.
Yep, they're going to be able to lock this one down. Zenit's going to share in it as well, getting the local gold for this turret. Everything that this Vladimir can collect in this early stage is going to be useful. Shock Blast lands on Veritas. He just straight up doesn't care. He's clearing out minions over and over again. Blade of the Ruin King is in hand. For the Ashe, when it comes to late game carries against awesome dudes and compositions like this from KT, I actually really like Ashe. I feel like Frost Shot, the extra control, the extra utility you get with an Ashe pick and then having consistent DPS in an AD carry does work out well in later stages of the game.
But it's Veritas, and it feels bad to lay too much at his feet. This is a player who played, of course, for the Unicorns of Love, has played in the Oceanic scene, like we mentioned, but
also spent a lot of time in NA Challenger as well. He's been around the block, this guy.
And it is his 4th promotion tournament to the LCK Atlas, and his record is 0-3. 2 series with CJ Entus, Veritas and Pure could not be promoted, and then he was on the Dumb One Gaming lineup that could not promote in 2018 as well. So because of that, we have to wait and see if now, as an experienced 23-year-old player, he'll be able to actually put in the sort of performance that gets his team over the line, because this has been in the arena where Veritas has struggled the most.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is the test. Currently, he is ahead by about 20 CS, but the CS numbers are meaning less and less as the map feels like it's being controlled by KT Rolster as we tick over to 20 minutes into the game. Cloud Drake will be spawning at exactly the same time as this Baron. KT are converging on the mid lane. Mid lane outer turrets have taken a fair bit of damage so far. Shock Blast not going to land onto Veritas, and you can feel that both of these teams are egging for a fight. BDD presenting himself as a target, but will KT pull the trigger, or does it have to be VSG?
VSG have more triggers to pull, but they can only kill one person fast. If they ARAM 5v5 in the open or in even areas, the AoE from KT should put them in the death chamber. So because of that, VSG need to pull the trigger and pull it well. If they don't focus fire, I think KT wins almost every time.
Oh, you can see how much Snowfire just wanted to dive into the middle of that VSG squad, and they do manage to take down the Cloud Drake. Not exactly the most high priority is, okay, Arrow flies in once again, hits Smeb, but you can see Saw already taking a lot of damage. Unbreakable Will is going to be there, so the Snowplow doesn't go down, and Zenit dives into the backline. Hemoplague does a bunch of work and Score picks up the first kill of the fight. Once again, KT successful. 2-0 is the scoreline. They may be able to take more as Ruby down to half health. Saw basically has nothing. VSG, can they defend? The answer looks to be yes as they deal with the minion wave, but the backs are being stopped, and Smeb has some accelerated shock blast for VSG.
Yeah, all this harassing will get them the turret as VSG have to recall. That, of course, looked much more like the standard fight that we said. KT's comp was superior in the mid game. You need to find your picks with your pick tools. You can't take a 5v5 and pray to the AoE of BDD and Zenit. The TP's pretty bold here, but it is, of course, Alessandra with ulti, so of any champion, she's one that can teleport boldly and work it out later.
Yeah, is going to be there with the self-ult available, so I do not mind it. I was a little bit worried. Score's going to be able to steal away the blue buff, though. KT, they do lose the Cloud Drake, but I just don't think they cared that much about putting the priority on. As we have a look at this fight one more time, Smeb is a bit of an arrow magnet so far this game.
But look at how the fight goes when it comes to the threats focusing down one member. Ryan dives in and dies because, like we mentioned, Vladimir and Azir are able to free hit him before even those items are complete. That makes it just a wipe whenever we team fight. If you have that much of a time advantage without threat onto the members of KT, you'll be able to knock people down where they stand. So that's just not how you want to construct as VSG. You need to put down control ward, get a base check, and blow one person up. Alistair, the most difficult one to do, but they're going to do it out.
And just didn't have the ultimate available. That was a huge one there for VSG, who will now push in to try and take down this outer turret. Remember, KT weren't able to get the one of VSG. Storm misses the dredge line, but they are still able to take down the outer turret. That's a great tempo move here from VSG. 23 minutes into the game.
Getting that mid lane turret down opens up the map, puts down the lane ward that we see, that opens up the Baron to be an objective, but we're running out of that time where we like VSG's comp Atlas. Third Inferno spawning in this game as well. It means there might be two sides of the map to play that. KT won't give up the Baron to get an Infernal, but it makes it more difficult to dot your I's and cross your T's over the most important objective, because the counter objective is also one that both teams would look at and eye very convincingly. So VSG, they make their inroads around the Baron, they turn around for a pick. Even getting the Unbreakable Will would be big here, but not enough threat just yet. TP up on Soar. When it comes to flank teleport wards, those aren't in perfect spots yet. A lot to consider here. KT know that if they can repel this Baron for just another 7 minutes, they should be in almost plain sailing.
Yeah, prime position. Arrow's going to fly in. Oh, Zenit does the walk to the left move. As it was the walk to the right last time, this time the walk to the left is the one that's able to do it. Holds onto his buttons. It's another arrow missed there from Veritas. Maybe the nerves, might be the CJ problem coming back. Or the Damwon problem, depending on which one you want to talk about. There's been too many of them.
I think at some point it's the Veritas problem.
Yeah.
So we're waiting to see if he can be clutch. Look, the rest of his team wasn't in position to fully transfer that into a kill, so I don't think these are the Ash arrow misses that are going to lose them the game, but it's another cooldown window where 90 seconds later, we're closer to 30 minutes, so there's still going to be a cost for missing that arrow. It's not going to be the Blade of the Ruined King, it's going for Yoma's Ghost Blade, is Smeb. Not that effective against specifically Nautilus, but he's in a side lane far enough away that he's not worried about being camped by a secondary member. KT with their numbers advantage. Pilot this mid lane push, get the answering mid lane turret. Clock keeps ticking towards 25.
Yep, Sun Turret going to be erected there as well. Has that little bug that the laser is always going to be on pure, but don't worry guys, he's not getting shot from extra range or any silliness like that. VSG clears out a minion wave very, very simply. Will they be able to transition into any Baron threat? The answer looks to be no at this point. Still a fair few wards around the area from VSG. So not really needed when it comes to heading back over there and re-establishing vision control. KT just use it to get themselves a reset. And that's a pretty good one. Merlinomicon completed now for BDD with his 2 items now. He's going to be a massive threat, and I'm looking at a pretty cool hat on the Hemomancer, and I'm getting real scared in VSG.
Already it feels like 5v5s are a bridge too far, and one more item is lights out, and maybe you can get frisky on someone like BDD and Azir Sec in with the Shurima Shuffle and then Stasis, and rely on your teammates and allies' damage. So because of that, VSG have to be so careful about how they approach. They cannot take an honest front-to-back 5v5 right now. They're going to try anyway.
Yep, Dreadline's going to come in. Snowcloud actually flashing into the back line. Gets the headbutt onto Saw, but he does have a stopwatch. Keeps himself alive. Snowcloud does the same. Ruby, self-pulse. There's not a lot of targets here as Pure is the one getting targeted down, and they lose the Lissandra after she comes out of the stasis. Zenit trying to get the work down, and you betcha bottom dollar he's going to. It's a double kill for the Jason. Saw is going to follow. Score picks up the kill. That's going to be the ace, and I believe that's all she wrote for this game, Papa Smithy.
It's a perfect ace in exactly the scenario and timing that KT were looking for. KT babied through the early game. It was looking a little bit rough when they lost to Rift Herald, but since then, VSG, like many Challengers teams before them, have made some mistakes in execution, and a closeout Baron and Inferno duo of objectives should be all she wrote, like you say, for KT.
Yeah, KT, they understood where their window was, and it was sometime after 25 minutes if we have gold parity, and that's exactly where they were. This was Saw trying his best to start a fight they wanted.
And we talked about front-to-back honest 5v5s. Consider the threat level that Vladimir and the Azir, who has 2 items now under. Azir never takes any damage to Ryan ults, and then BDD, he's not even taking damage after he aggressively shifting sands and ults in. Unfortunately, the focus fire deleting one member. VSG just try to say, screw it, let's team fight, and unfortunately, that is not what they picked for, and they're taken down where they stand.
Yeah, it just felt like VSG all went into stasis, and Veritas is like, wait, why are all of my friends statues now? And just got obliterated. Score dived on top of him with the ultimate. Well, KT, they now have the Baron circling around them. You can see the damage that they were capable of. Zenit is well and truly online. We said he had a cool hat. Well, he translated that one into a whole lot of cool damage, as Veritas felt like the only person on the team that was actually able to get any work done. That's how this team composition basically feels like it's going to work for VSG. Unfortunately, KT just have so many threats at this stage of the game.
Baron buff makes them very overwhelming. Not the strongest team to actually siege. Only real siege champion they have is Jason. I guess you could argue Azir is decent in that scenario because he's fairly safe and has a very good on-command defensive tool. But they can play multiple lanes, they can dive, they have a lot of options here. No 80 carry to consider. Zenith's another diver with Rolster under turrets, and Veritas is very, very, very difficult to 5v5 fight as an Ashe against a comp like this. The poke starts to land, Azir whacks away on the top lane. VSG feel like they have one more emergency all-in left, otherwise they'll watch their turrets go down around them.
Yeah, I actually really like that from KT, deciding not to take the bait onto Ruby. You saw the rest of VSG trying to group together, get themselves a fight that they wanted, but they don't want it now. That shock blast just chunking all of them out in a turret now, going to bite the dust, as Ruby has to put that Claw of Doom on cooldown. Veritas gets chunked, and now KT have an inroad towards this inhibitor turret. You mentioned Siege. If the Jace is able to get consistent poke down like this, it feels like a Siege comp, Papa Smithy, even though it does have those flaws that you mentioned.
Double Infernal and Baron that you just couldn't have plugged and played with how the game started is definitely carrying them over when it comes to potential Siege disadvantages. They can, of course, put Sun Turret behind them and means no flanks are available to anyone on the side of VSG. This Baron buff, still another minute. Feels like a lot of Baron uptime. Already a 3,500 gold Baron buff power play, and we ain't done.
Yep. This is a big statement from KT, because you mentioned the fact that the Sona Taric would have been so strong, but then VSG say, well, we lost to Sona Taric, that could be a problem. Here's the team fight, though, speaking of problems, and the Vladimir immediately gets taken down. It's a good pulverize in the back line. Is there's the sweep, the dunk from BDD. You got rid of one threat, but there's still two left. Triple kill for the Jace. One of them comes in, and it's a full house. Jesus, full of his ears.
And there's the double MVP in a row. BD taking it over. We were waiting for it. We said this is the item timing. Well, he can make it. BD says thank you very much, and KT win game number 1.
Yep, it's beautiful. They got rid of one of the threats, Popper, and I thought, oh, this could be the chance for VSG. But KT have so many more. Nexus is going to go down. KT with a statement game 1. No Sona Tarics required. We're going to get bodied in the laning phase and smash you in the team fight.
And all they had to do was have that caffeine tick in around 12 minutes.
Yeah.
They were a bit too sleepy to open, but they woke up, and apparently BDD. We are abjectly flat. I would argue it was poor by his standards. And by the end, the desperation was causing more mistakes than super plays. Nice to see BDD wake up and be the player we know he can be. He is one of the stars of Korean League of Legends, and it seems like in this game, he remembered that fact.
He did. And I want Ryan to wake up, Papa Smithy, because he was able to steal away things in the early game, really was able to get a lot of control of the jungle, but wasn't able to translate that into absolutely anything come mid-game, apart from a Rift Herald that just had to conga line along with a minion wave towards the top side. I think there could be some tidying up to be done here from VSG. However, KT Rolster, if you're a KT fan, and I know there are so many of you out there, even if you haven't been admitting it recently, this is a great way to start this series.
But you're not getting excited yet. It's a best of 3.
No.
Who knows what roster VSG plays in game number 2? No one eliminated today, but KT desperate to win this match.
Could be the VSG strategy. Get them excited and then knock them down. But that is going to be something that's going to be tested in game number 2 that we will have right after the break.